This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, whatever time it is with you and wherever you are. Thank you for downloading this SmackDown review as part of the WWE podcast. This is week number 11, believe it or not. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you listening along once again. And thank you so much for everyone who's taken the time to reach out this week on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it these days, through your DMs or interactions. It's great fun. So for anyone who hasn't done so yet and who would like to, please follow me. I am at Amanda SD Pod. That's at Amanda SD Pod. So, what did you guys think of Bash in Berlin? I thought it was good. Not excellent, but definitely good. I don't think there were any surprises and didn't see anything that we weren't really expecting. I'm obviously delighted to do better with my own predictions this time round. 4 out of 5, so we'll take that. And in my opinion, and only my opinion, the best match of the night was Punk versus Drew, and I think that was closely followed by Dom and Liv versus the Terror Twins, which I also really enjoyed. I thought both of the men's championship matches were only okay. I still remain unconvinced by the whole KO Cody thing. And the tag team championship match also I thought was good. For anyone who cares, this week, autumn or fall, if you're in the US, has well and truly arrived in the UK. But let me avoid the British stereotype and not talk about the weather. But let me just say, it absolutely sucks. It's hot, cold and humid all at the same time. A real joy. Please, come here, experience it. So, let's get to it. The reason you're all here, and start the review for the SmackDown that aired on September 6th from Edmonton, which is in Alberta, Canada. And for anyone who's interested, I have been to Canada. I've been to a couple of different places. I did a little tour of Alaska, and that took in some parts of Canada as well. So, yeah, been there, but not been to Edmonton. First of all, this evening we see Bayley arriving at the arena, and we also see Giovanni Vinci, who is here to make his debut or return against Apollo Crews later tonight. My immediate thoughts when seeing this match was that I was going to go out on a limb early on and say that Vinci will get the win over Crews. We'll see how that develops as the show goes on. We see Cody backstage signing some merch, and we get a replay of the highlights of the match against KO from Bash at Berlin. I still don't get the KO angle with Cody's knee. Why was he not able to do the KO thing and take full advantage? Again, why was he unable to do the power slam on the apron? I don't believe that it was easier for KO to mug off Sammy, who we're led to believe, and I actually do believe that has this been his mate for years. They've come up together. It was easier for KO to stab him in the back, but yet he couldn't bring himself to do it to Cody. I don't get it. I don't buy it, but hopefully, thankfully, that might be behind us now. So let's just move on. This is the last SmackDown on the Fox network in the US, as Cole reminds us. For anyone outside of the US, I don't think it really affects us that much until the big Netflix switch comes up in January. And my understanding at that point is that all WWE stuff will be going on to Netflix for everyone outside of the US, which would be great. Should save us all a bit of a packet on our network fees, unless I'm mistaken, and they continue to show PLEs on the network. But let's see. So yeah, last SmackDown on the Fox network. As we start the show tonight, we get Cody making his entrance to the huge pop as usual, and we have Cole and Corey as the commentary team. Cody is in the ring with the mic, and obviously, and as always, asks Edmonton what they want to talk about. He says that it's a large crowd tonight, and he starts talking about Bash in Berlin, giving kudos to Canada's own KO, which the crowd obviously goes wild for. He welcomes Cole back to SmackDown, and he says he could go on, but he's done this long enough to know he's going to be interrupted any minute. And he says before that happens, he wants to extend an invitation to the Bloodline, which I think is a nice angle. Again, a little peek behind the curtain and stealing the Bloodline's thunder, because sure enough, out they come. Solo makes his way down to the ring, flanked by his new Bloodline. Solo enters the ring alone and tells the Bloodline to park themselves outside, and obviously is greeted by huge boos from the Canadian crowd. Solo asks Cody if he's done running his mouth and playing around, and he asks if Cody is ready to defend the title against a real challenger like him. Solo says everyone knows he would have been champion at SummerSlam if it wasn't for Roman Reigns. Cody says the season premiere of SmackDown next week should have a championship match, and in the background the crowd are chanting really loud that they want Roman, we want Roman, we want Roman. And Cody says that he does deserve a championship match, but he isn't talking to Solo, he's talking to Jacob Fatu. It's a bit of a weird swerve, but then we see why he did that. He says he stepped out of the shadow of the tribal chief, so I guess Cody's just trying to sow a bit of division here between the Bloodline. And it seems to work. Solo looks mad as hell. Jacob comes to the ring apron, and we think, isn't he going to step in and step up to Cody? But instead, Jacob says that he loves Solo, and he is the tribal chief, and he steps back down off the apron. Cody says, oh well, it was worth a shot, and he said Solo is wearing the Ula Fala, which means the Bloodline revolves around him, but Cody wears the title, which means that the WWE Universe revolves around Cody, which I liked. I thought that was a good comment, and also it acknowledges that now, actually, not to coin a phrase, we are kind of all saying that actually Solo is the legit tribal chief for now. Solo says he sees what Cody is trying to do to get his enforcer to turn on him, but it won't work. And then Solo says we don't have to wait till next week, and he clicks his fingers and the Bloodline come into the ring. Before you can even turn around, Cody is joined in the ring by the Street Profits and DIY. And before anything interesting can kick off, Nick Aldis, or as we know, guys, Oblivion the Gladiator, puts a stop to things, threatening fines and suspension. He says he knows you all want to tear each other apart, and they can in the 8-man tag match in the main event tonight. He then confirms that next week will be Cody versus Solo for the Undisputed Championship. But he goes on to say the Bloodline numbers game is getting old and boring and is bad for business. So the match next week will be a steel cage match, which I think is awesome. Solo does not look too happy, but what a main event to look forward to next week, guys. With no assistance from the Bloodline, or at the very least, it's much harder for them to go about their usual shenanigans. We know that the steel cage match isn't magic. Somehow somebody always finds a way to get in on it, but it's not going to be easy. Guys, could it be possible that Cody loses the belt here? It's a question, I don't know. I mean, it is possible, and it would make one hell of a start for the new era of SmackDown on the new channel over in the US. And then maybe set up a rematch at Bad Blood, where I assume Cody would win the belt back. Okay, maybe I'm getting a touch ahead of myself here, but fantasy booking, that's what we're all about, right? And that sounds quite exciting. But let's see. Also, I think tonight's main event won't be too shabby either. All of the guys that are going to be involved in this 8-man tag have the skills to bring it and are super athletic. So we are in for a treat here. Good start to the show. We then go backstage with Tiffany Stratton and Pretty Deadly, who I love. And they're talking about Tiffany bringing about the end of Bayley this evening and the premiere of SmackDown next week. And they mention they also have the premiere of Pretty Deadly the Musical next week. Nia walks in and it all goes a bit quiet. She dismisses Pretty Deadly and says to Tiffany that the whole locker room is talking about how Tiffany was about to cash in on Nia last week, and isn't that crazy? I mean, honestly, guys, why doesn't Nia just watch it back on TV? Clearly and obviously, Tiffany was about to cash in on her. But Tiffany says she would never do that and calls her queen. She says she was only out there to help her, and that it's probably Chelsea Green who is spreading these rumours because she's jealous of their friendship. Nia says she knows Tiffy would never lie to her and says she will be in her corner tonight to quote-unquote help her like Tiffany did last week. Guys, this angle is getting some serious double bluff undertones now, like Friends, when they all knew about Chandler and Monica, but they didn't know they knew she knew. You know what I mean? If you don't watch Friends, you don't know. But clearly Nia knows, and Tiffy knows Nia knows, but they aren't saying it out loud. So my question is has Tiffy missed her chance to use the briefcase in a sucker blow while pretending to be Nia's friend? It looks like it, and maybe over the next few weeks this will ramp up and we'll get the blow-off that we deserve to this programme. But again, this has been intriguing, and I can't help but think that in the old days this would have been over, done and dusted by now, but Triple H loves a slow burn. Yeah. So, really good stuff. And then we get Cole on comms saying, is Nia onto her? I mean, just in case anyone had missed the big, huge signposts, Cole just makes sure that anyone who, had gone to make a cup of tea or for a quick wee realises that Nia is, in fact, probably definitely onto her. Anyway, we then go straight into the match. Bayley makes her entrance to a great pop, followed by Tiffany, who still gets a decent pop. She's still very over, considering she's in a heel role at the moment. And we get a quick reminder of what happened, first of all, at SummerSlam with Tiffany's involvement, and then the cash-in, non-cash-in from her last week. So that's still fresh in everyone's mind. As we kick off the match tonight, things are pretty even, with Bayley going for the early cover, takes control, but Tiffany's gymnastic background helps her out, and things get back even pretty quick. Tiffany with a big right hand gets Bayley in the corner, but she reverses and goes for another quick cover. Bayley is far too slow getting up to the top and is picked off by Tiffy, who gets her up on the shoulders, ready for a possible power slam onto the apron, but Bayley manages to sneak out the back and counter it. Tiffany stays in charge with a big drop kick on the apron, which we see in slow-mo as we go to the break, and looks pretty epic. As we get back from the break, thankfully, Tiffany is still in charge, and we get a back elbow following on from a gymnastic tumble, which Simone Biles herself would have been proud of from across the ring, followed by Tiffany with some impressive power moves, resulting in a near fall for her. And now, apparently, the commentary team was saying tonight that Tiffany Stratton's only been professionally wrestling for a few years now, and if this is the standard she's managed to reach in a few years, I shudder to think how good she is going to be in another few years, because she is blooming awesome. She continues to work on Bayley's arm. Bayley manages to reverse and delivers a slam on the outside, quickly gets Tiffany back into the ring with a couple of massive clotheslines and a huge knee, covered by Bayley. Tiffy kicks out in two. Bayley up to the top rope and hits her flying elbow for another 2 count, as then Nia makes her way to the ring. And off of that distraction, Tiffany pulls out 2 massive power moves and covers Bayley, which she kicks out of. Bayley then hits Bayley to belly but can't capitalise. And then Bayley goes for a suicide dive through the ropes to take out Nia. We then get Nia popping up on the apron distracting the referee, but it seems to backfire. As whilst the referee is distracted, Tiffany has Bayley's shoulders down. There's no count. The ref notices too late. Bayley kicks out, hits the Rose plant, and gets the 3 count for the win. Bayley rolls out of the ring pretty quick as Nia is looking to get into it after the win. I thought this was a great match. These two are really well matched in terms of their athletic ability and move capabilities. I would definitely like to see more of these two going at it, perhaps if and when Tiffany gets the belt or a belt. A really good start to the show in terms of the match anyway, and good further fueling of the Nia-Tiffany betrayal storyline too. So some excellent stuff to start off with tonight. We then go backstage where we see KO looking at a poster of someone called Wayne Gretzky. I have no idea who he is, but he looks like a local sports star, probably ice hockey. Wallet and Theory come up to KO, taking the mick, says he's there looking at a bunch of losers, which I think is the local ice hockey team that plays in this arena. Theory says that KO said he didn't deserve the match with Cody, and it looks like he proved himself right. And Waller says, hang on, they obviously aren't even friends anymore, as they didn't see KO out there helping with the Bloodline. Which is a good point, right? We didn't see KO make his usual save. KO says, you two are idiots and morons. They shouldn't worry about him and Cody, they're just fine. Just like Waller and Theory, who are better than fine, right? Great friends, great partners, and a great team. And KO says he has an idea and sets up a triple threat match tonight. KO versus Waller versus Theory. And he goes straight off to Nick Aldis, Oblivion the Gladiator, to make the match official. We then see Giovanni Vinci ready for his match with Apollo, which looks like it's coming up. But before we get that match, we get a pre-recorded segment with Legado del Fantasma, where Angel is in there bragging about how great last week was. Escobar comes into the room. He says that last week was good, but was there a championship on the line? They shouldn't be shocked by success. They make the success and it's theirs. Angel says that it's their time and SmackDown will belong to Legado del Fantasma, which was a nice little segment, and I think it signals intent that we're going to have a push for Legado del Fantasma, which I am okay with. I like them. I think they're good. So let's see where that goes. We then get Giovanni make his entrance, and he gets what I would think, in my opinion, is a pretty lukewarm reaction, which is a shame, as WWE have built him and his return up a lot over the last few weeks. The commentary team, specifically Corey, continues to big him up by saying if Lamborghini made humans, it would be him. Cole says, well, he hasn't done anything yet except come back, which I thought was hilarious and pretty much what we're all thinking. And also, isn't that the old Carlin line? Was it Carlin or was it Carlsberg? I don't know. Anyway, one of those big lager brands in the UK who used to say if Carling made such and such, it would be. Anyway, sorry. So Cruz is already in the ring. So yet again, I think for the second or third week in a row, he doesn't get any kind of entrance. Giovanni Vinci is building his part. He's got this Gucci-looking white tracksuit on, and he's taking his time getting it all off, and the referee's asking him to hurry up. Eventually, the referee loses his rag and gets the bell rung, and Apollo comes up from behind, rolls him up for the 3 count, and takes the win. Honestly, guys, you could have knocked me down with a feather. What the actual... I did not see that coming. What a mug. I said, Apollo will definitely lose here. Apollo definitely didn't lose here. Wow. Giovanni Vinci is mad as hell. Looks as shocked as everyone else and is gesticulating about, I didn't even get my tracksuit off. To help you with that. X, Y, Z. Shocked. So there we go. A losing start to Giovanni Vinci's debut stroke return. Then we go backstage and we get Chelsea Green in with Nick Aldis complaining about what happened at NXT. I didn't see that, but I did see some little clips of it on Twitter. Meechin interrupts, coming into the office with an ice pack on her stomach. I'm wondering if she's had that same ice pack all week or did something else happen. But we then learn that she's selling the injury. Chelsea says it's funny how her match ended in a trash can, as that's where trash goes. And Meechin says the last time we saw Chelsea, she was getting her brain scrambled on NXT. So, I mean, this is a bit bitchy between these two. A bit, I guess what you'd say, a bit high school. But it's fun, and it's getting, obviously, more women onto the show, which, I'm very happy about. Let's continue to build them. Surprise, surprise, Nick Aldis makes the match between Meechin and Chelsea. Meechin's delighted, Chelsea not so much. And we go straight back out to the ring. We've got the triple threat match. We get KO, makes his entrance, and obviously being a Canadian, gets a great reaction. As we come back from the break, out come Theory and Waller. So, unless Theory and Waller do fall out, basically this is a handicap match. We start off and KO dumps both out of the ring and follows them to the outside. KO is off to a hot start, but the numbers work against him in the end as they drive him into the barricade. Waller sets up a table as Theory is on the wrong end of a punch from KO, allowing KO to put Waller through the table. And as we go to the break, we get a slow-mo of Waller going through the table, which is pretty cool. We come back, KO is still in charge, and Theory is in the ring trading blows. KO hits a massive kick, followed by a clothesline and a senton, and then a cannonball to Theory and a swanton for the cover. So good little sequence of moves from KO, but Waller breaks it up in the nick of time, and Waller is now in with KO. KO lays him out with a punch, hits a rolling blockbuster by Theory, which puts KO down, and Waller jumps in for the cover, but Theory pulls him off at the 2 count, clearly upset that Waller is trying to nick the win. They start to have a row in the ring, but then they manage to get back on the same page, turn their attention to KO, double teaming him, but failing as KO knocks them both off the top of the ropes, and Theory gets hit with a rolling senton from the top and goes for the cover, which once again Waller breaks up. Waller gets caught by KO from the top, and then this time Theory breaks up the cover. We then get a stunner on Theory for the 3 count, and KO takes the win. Then there's some afters as Waller attacks KO from behind, and Theory joins in, leaving KO down in the ring. Some more good storytelling here as we get to the presumed turn on each other at the end of A-Town Down Under. This is another super slow burn, but I do think the payoff will be worth it and leave us with some great matches between these two, and hopefully leaving Theory as the face. I think that fits better. The match itself was good. Nice to see KO get the win. And A-Town Down Under do have all the moves, so they're always a pleasure to watch. They are a really good tag team. A real good team put together there by WWE. We now get a reminder of the programme so far between Carmelo and Andrade. I assume we will be getting the final match of this series soon. I hope we do. This has been built from pretty much nothing and has now become absolute must-watch. I have to say I wasn't really a fan of this in the beginning, but now I'm absolutely loving it. I think these two are great. We then get LA Knight making his way to the ring, and as always, gets a great pop. Let's hope that we're going to get to see who is next up for the US champ. He tells us that he is just 30 days into his title reign and he's already defended successfully twice. A sly dig, I think, at Logan Paul, who defended twice in whatever that was, like 8 months or 10 months, or anyway, long and very few defences. He says that everyone is gunning for his title, but nobody is getting his title. And then we have Carmelo coming out, says he shouldn't brag about 2 title defences while he's been carrying SmackDown on his back. He is 2 up on Andrade, so by default is next in line for the title. Out comes Andrade. Surely he will have something to say here, and he does. He says for Melo to calm down, and he reminds Melo that it's actually 2-2. Andrade rants in Spanish at Knight, but Knight says he has no idea what he just said, but he might want to check his tone and use his inside voice, which I think is brilliant. So that kind of thing to kids, inside voice, please, or when someone's drunk. It kicks off between Andrade and Melo, and Knight BFTs Andrade, and whilst Melo is chopsing off to Andrade laying on the floor, Knight also BFTs him, which is good. A great segment, and I guess we are headed to the winner of match 5 gets a title shot. Sounds good to me. I personally hope it's Andrade. That would be pretty cool. So hopefully that is where we're headed. That's what I'd like to see anyway. We then get Waller and Theory walking backstage, and Waller is telling Theory that they're the best tag team, yada yada yada. They bump into Nick and ask him to make a match next week, the 2 of them versus KO and whoever he can find to tag with, which Nick agrees. So who do we think KO is going to find to tag with? Could it be somebody returning? Could it be an NXT call-up? Obviously, they're really going hard to make this premiere be a great show next week. So let's see. But that's quite exciting. So we have KO and Question Mark versus Waller and Theory. We now get Chelsea out for her match with Michin. Guys, I didn't realise that Chelsea is Canadian too. Didn't know. Thought she was from somewhere in America. So we also get Michin making an entrance, and she's still selling her injured ribs, or midsection, as Cole says. The match starts off with Michin in charge, but Chelsea fights back, targeting Michin's injury. Green gets a close cover and continues to target the ribs. Michin gets a quick reversal and a 2 count. Piper, with the distraction, allows Chelsea to get a sneaky roll-up, which Michin manages to kick out of. And then Michin takes charge with a dive to the outside before Piper makes her presence felt again. Chelsea takes advantage with the ref distracted, and a Piper cannonball on the outside, followed by the unpretty her to Michin in the ring, and Chelsea gets the win. A quick match. A decent match. I think Michin doesn't look too weakened because she's had some good build over recent weeks, but I don't think she's too weakened by the loss to Chelsea, as she did such a great job selling her injury. Chelsea's looking good in the ring, and Piper's doing a very good job as her wing woman. Hopefully they finally found something more purposeful for Piper Niven to do. Her and Chelsea, they were an unlikely couple, but actually it's working out quite nicely now. All around, pretty solid stuff, and a bonus for the Canadians as they get another one of their own on the card. So, as I said, next week premiere is shaping up nicely. We have the tag team match, KO and whoever versus Waller and Theory. Also the decider between Melo and Andrade. And of course, the championship cage match, Cody versus Solo. So next week's card, already looking very exciting. We go backstage, where Byron has the Street Profits and DIY, and he asks if they can stay on the same page tonight. Johnny says they can get on. Montez agrees. Instead of it being all gushy and we love each other, though, we do get some, hey, look, we don't really like them, they don't really like us, we both want the same thing. However, tonight, for the greater good type thing, we're going to try and make it count against the Bloodline, which I thought was a much more believable angle than perhaps what we may have got in the past. So the Bloodline make their entrance as we come back from the break. Profits are already out, and DIY come down to the ring. DIY look like they really, really mean business tonight. They got their full-on angry faces on. So this one is going to be very difficult for the ref, as it kicks off straight away with an all-out punch-up in the ring. The Profits and DIY clear the ring. And then we start properly with Dawkins and Tama Tonga. Montez is quickly tagged in, and a big kick followed by a splash and a cover. Montez remains in charge, but things change pretty quickly as Tama Tonga tags in, beating down on Montez. Montez counters, gets a tag to Johnny, and he tags in Ciampa. They briefly have the upper hand, but then in comes the absolute beast of Jacob Fatu and basically starts to kick Ciampa's ass. As he tags in Solo, who has Ciampa outside the ring, and the Bloodline are very much in control as we go to the last break of the evening. As we come back, Ciampa turns the tables briefly on Tama Tonga, who gets Solo back into the match. Ciampa tags Dawkins and Johnny at the same time, who both get in and start taking out the Bloodline. Montez takes out Fatu and Johnny Tama Tonga. Dawkins with a neck breaker on Solo gets a close 2 count. Solo hits the spinning Solo, but Ciampa kicks out, and now we have these two legal. There's an all-out brawl on the outside. The ref has literally no control over this, and Ciampa takes Tama Tonga off the top to the outside, taking out everyone, which was a pretty cool move. Montez comes off the top with 450 spin, and Fatu breaks the cover. Fatu, now legal, takes everyone out one by one, hits the Impaler on Montez and tags in Solo, allowing him to hit 2 Samoan spikes and take the win for the Bloodline. So we finish off tonight's show once again with the Bloodline standing tall with a big victory, it has to be said, going into next week's championship match. All in all, a good show with some great stuff setting up for next week's premiere. I wonder if Roman will appear next week. I wonder might we even get The Rock? They're obviously, as I said, building up the premiere as much as they can, and so they should. Maybe they'll put in an appearance at the end of the cage match. They need to get the new Bloodline versus old Bloodline story back to the top of the page. So I really hope so. Maybe we get Heyman return next week. Again, I really hope so. I know that Heyman and Roman have been out doing PR and interviews and stuff this week. I've seen that all over Twitter. So I'm really hoping that we get some movement in that story, as well as the championship title match next week. So there seems to be 2 really high-profile stories that are similar, involving the same people, but they're not the same. So it's quite an interesting angle. But yeah, a strong show to finish off on Fox. And we look forward to moving, I think it was called the USA Network, which seems from the adverts on tonight's show to seem to have the monopoly currently on all 3 shows, which is probably a good thing. So let's see what happens. But I think it's going to be a good build to Bad Blood. And once again, what a time. What a time to be wrestling fans, guys. We are blessed. So that just about does it for this week's show. Once again, and as always, thank you for having me in your ears and for downloading. Thank you for the comments in the week. Please reach out if you want to speak about something particular on the show. If you have any comments, I'm really keen to hear from you. So reach out, let's talk. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great week. And until next time, guys, remember, be kind.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.